When thinking of Peru, the first thing that pops into my head is the environment. Peru's environment is one that amazes people around the world and is a leading contributor to why people travel here. I had the opportunity to travel to Peru and was asked to think of a topic question that interested me. As the trip progressed, I discovered that Peru's environment was leaving a forceful impact on me. Based on this, I created an essential question that would sum up my main interests from the trip, and that essential question was, how does flora and fauna affect Peru's culture? Now, when thinking about how the environment impacts culture, it takes a bit of thought, but there are clearly three main areas that describe how flora and fauna impact the culture of Peru, and they are the environmental issues, Peruvian religion, and environmentally based economy. Those areas, though far from similar, all directly tie back to how flora and fauna affect Peru's culture. One of the leading issues to culture in Peru from their environment is the deforestation problem. About 60% of Peru is forest, and studies have shown that from 1990 to 2010, Peru lost around 3.1% of its forest cover. Deforestation has been a big problem in Peru since the 1960s and has gradually been increasing. Deforestation can mainly be attributed to the many different factors at local and international levels. The rainforest is a great place to access resources for cattle pastures, housing space, farming space, roadworks, and medicines. Though deforestation is bad because it takes away habitats, there are groups like Friends of the Amazon that are trying to dramatically lower the amount of deforestation. But it's not always a bad thing. When deforestation is done in small amounts, it can really help with the agriculture business if some areas of the Amazon are fertile and the soil is usable. Pollution also has a high impact on Peru's flora and fauna, which then affects the culture. The Peruvian government has created an alert system for high levels of pollution. There are 3 levels: watch, danger, and emergency. During an emergency, children, pregnant women, and the elderly are asked to stay indoors. Not only does this affect people, but the fauna in those areas suffer as well. Air pollution harms animals as a result of direct exposure to contaminants and destruction of their habitats, food, and water sources. For instance, acid rain, which forms when pollutants in the atmosphere combines with precipitation, causes aluminum to leach into the soil, poisoning and often killing fish. Acid rain kills fish in lakes and streams by increasing the acidity of water. Water pollutants includes chemical contamination from waste sites, chemical waste from industry discharges, heavy metals such as mercury and lead, sewage waste, food processing waste, fertilizers, and pesticides. Littering can cause soil pollution and lead to the death of many animals because of the toxic substances in the trash that once eaten by the animals often lead to their deaths. Animals can also die from getting themselves entangled in many of the littered items that are dumped into the environment. With pollution killing animals, that only causes the culture to change due to gradually unsafe living conditions. The culture can change drastically when climate takes its toll on flora and fauna. The cold will kill off the sheep and the llamas raised in the mountains. The extreme cold will gather with heavy snows and frost and will end up killing the grasses that the animals feed on. Then the animals will grow too thin and they won't be able to survive the winter. The freezing cold in the region has killed more than 5,000 cattle and a staggering 250,000 alpacas. With extreme numbers of animal deaths, Peru's cultural source of income wavers due to the high death count of their livestock. Farmers in Cusco are reporting irregular rains and intense heat. This is affecting their crops of potato and corn. In recent years, their production has fallen by at least half. The Peruvian Ministry of Environment collaborated this information in 2009 National Environmental Study, which released that about 195,000 acres of potatoes and 148,000 acres of white corn have been lost in the last 12 years due to climate change. Local residents in rural Peruvian reported that changing rainfall patterns had damaged their mango and cassava crops. They also had noticed public health problems. Religion also helps explain how flora and fauna impact the culture of Peru through beliefs. The Quechua people of Peru were very engrossed with life in the forest, plants, and animals that had played a big impact on their lives. The Quechua thought that all life was sacred and that it all had a natural energy and spirit that were connected to them in individual ways. The Quechua considered that the trees and plants were sacred beings, just like the Chicanas, which was an Incan cross that symbolized three universes. One, an underground world of the dead ancestors. The second, an earth, which was the world of the present. And the last was the heavens above. Each of the three levels of the cross is represented by a sacred animal. The lower level symbolizes the kingdom of death, as well as the depth of the earth. The Incas believed that death is not the end, but rather beginning of a new cycle. So this is why the level is represented with a snake, which in many cultures is considered a sacred animal, the embodiment of strength and power. The Incas also believed that just as the snake changes its skin when dying, a person is just exchanged from his body to a new one. The second level is the present life, where everything is interconnected. Everything has its own energy that people should take care of and be in harmony with nature and with other living beings. This level is represented by a puma, which is the master of the Amazon and the snow-capped mountain peaks, and symbolizes courage and strength. The third and last level is the realm above. This stage is represented by the condor, which symbolizes air, and uses its wings and feathers to fly to freedom. Another part of Peruvian religion that affects the culture is them having a strong relationship to animal relics and fauna that can still be seen in modern culture today. Although guinea pigs are considered pets in the Western world, they're a staple in the Andes communities of Peru and have been for the past 5,000 years, and are very important to the culture of Peru. In Peru, for the longest time, guinea pigs have been cultivated for the use of food, and they reproduce much quicker than cows or pigs. They take up less room, and they're easy to feed and care for. They often are used in religious and social ceremonies. Any type of celebration involves eating guinea pig. Eating guinea pigs is such a huge part of the culture that inside the cathedral in Cusco, you will find a painting of the Last Supper, which shows Christ and his disciples feasting on guinea pig. The culture is also impacted by the growing economy of Peru. Peru's economy shows that the environment has an impact on culture by its use of colors from agriculture. Peru's culture is very colorful, and their weavings show that. When we went to Peru, we had an opportunity to see a weaving demonstration, and that explained how the colors came from natural dyes, which were extracted from plants, minerals, and insects. Hundreds of additional colors are made from the mixing of different materials. Colors also have specific associations. For example, red is equated with conquest, rulership, and blood. The red dye is collected from the cochineal, which is an insect that lives on cacti, feeding on the plant's moisture and nutrients. These insects are found on the pads of prickly pear cacti and are brushed off and dried, then eventually crushed to extract a color. Peru is filled with many colors, and most of those colors are referenced from the jungle and its vibrant flora, and based on that to be used as vibrant coloring in the society. Even though some plants aren't always extremely colorful, they still are considered flora, and examples of these are corn and potatoes. These vegetables have impacted Peru's culture for generations and continue to do so today. Over 4 million years ago, potatoes were first introduced to the Andes region. Peru is said to have over 4,000 types of potatoes due to the favorable variety of climates and soil that allows them to grow. History reveals that potatoes in Peru were first domesticated in multiple locations independently. It was thought that genetic manipulation was performed by ancient farmers on a wide variety of species, somewhere between 7,000 to 10,000 years ago. Over the years, selective breeding has been done, hence the many different types of potatoes in Peru. And due to those selective breedings, it has helped change Peru's culture and evolve them in different ways around agriculture. In conclusion, Peru's culture is not only impacted by just flora and fauna, but by its environmental issues, Peruvian religion, and environmentally based economy as a whole. Throughout this trip of a lifetime and research on my essential question, I learned vast amounts of information that has changed my view on Peru. In my opinion, I feel that people in Peru respect their environment and they try to preserve it as much as they can. On the flip side, I also feel that they need more education to improve the efficiency of their economy and to lower pollution levels, which affect the environment. Throughout my research, I realized that Peru isn't exactly the perfect place as one may hear. Peru is just like any other normal place around the world. It has problems, and in this case, the environment plays a big role in that. But it also plays a big role in the success. People come to Peru because of its flora and fauna. They want to experience that, which helps change the culture and spread the beauty of Peru. If I ever had the opportunity to travel back to Peru, I would spend more time investigating insects in their habitat and occurrence in everyday life. Even though people may think that's strange, I do find great interest in that, and I feel that insects have a big importance to the role in the economy and the environment as a whole, and that is something I would like to explore. Well, thank you for listening about how flora and fauna impacts Peru's culture.